Hello guys, welcome back to another video. We'll be looking at some of the most important JavaScript built-in functions. So basically these built-in functions are those functions that allow developers like us to perform great operations without having to write normal code. So it's like the food has been done, all you have to do is warm the food. Okay, so let's start with some document-based functions. So I'll start by creating my index.html file. Also create my script.js. So in my HTML, use shift1 auto generates, save. Okay, now let's link our JavaScript here. So I'll use the script src tag, then I'll say script.js. Good. So I can change the title to be built in functions in JS. Alright, now let's start with the first section, which will be document based. Okay, so let's start with alert. The alert function. So alert function is basically used to, as the name suggests, inform the user or portray a message, a very important message. Okay, so we can simply say alerts be careful there. It can be any text of your choice, so let's just go with be careful there. Okay, so let's just test that out. Let's see how it goes. So now if I open this with live server, I can check, I can see so this is Microsoft Edge, so it looks like this, be careful there. So I can close this. So this is how an alert message comes. So it's a document based function. It is an inbuilt function that works on the document. Okay, so this white space here is our document. Okay, so let's move on to the next. Quickly, we also have confirm. Now confirm is also like alert, but confirm is basically asking you a question, and it can only return a boolean value, whether true or false, depending on what you select. So the confirm is also like a pop-up where it basically has an OK button and a cancel button. So when the user selects OK, it returns true, where the user selects cancel, it returns false. So since it returns a value, you can actually store it in a variable. So let me just say let's answer ans equals confirm. Because I'm equating it to a variable doesn't mean it won't run. JavaScript is like that. So I'll say are you a boy? Okay, then I can console.log my answer just so we can see. So it's not like it is an option, it's just two buttons. So save, let me check that back. So I can see are you a boy, an OK button and a cancel button. So I press OK. Let me check my console now, inspect. Now if I check I think this should be the console. Okay, so inspect. Now my console, I'll see refresh, are you a boy? Okay, I can see true. Alright, so if I select cancel, I'll also see false. So you can always try that ourselves. Okay, so the next one would be, comment this out, the next one would be prompt. Okay, so prompt basically, among the, unlike the others, is not a button based function. It basically allows you to type your own answer. So it's also like asking you a question, but it doesn't always return true or false. So I can add confirm returns a boolean value. So our prompt basically returns a string. So even though you might type a number, it will automatically cast it as a string. So if you want to use it as a number, you have to use another function that we'll soon be learning. Okay, so if I also store it in a variable so I can see this, I can say name, let name equals to prompt. So I'll say prompt, what is your name? Okay, then I'll console.log name, then comma, in double quotes, I'll say welcome home. Okay, now let's check this out. What is your name? So I can say owl here, enter OK. Now if I check my console, inspect console, I can see owl welcome home. So that's more of like prompt. But you don't really see these built-in functions in modern websites. So modern websites, because of the advanced UI features, modern websites like to design their own pop-ups like that, even if that's if they even need or want to use these pop-ups. Okay, but as a beginner in JS or an intermediate level, it's good to know all this. Okay, so the next one we'll be looking at is parseInt. Okay, so parseInt basically is used to convert a string to an integer, but not just any string, a string that can be turned to an integer. For example, I can turn the string 5 to an integer, very possible, but I cannot turn the string hi to an integer because the string characters don't even match any integer character. So this would actually return something we call NaN, which means not a number. In fact, that will be the next function we'll be looking at. Okay, so if I say, so I don't need to collect, and it's not a document based one, it's not something we collect from the user. So I can say we're done with document based. So I can say number based, because we're working with numbers here. We have parseInt, parseDouble. Okay, so I convert to a number. I can say parseInt 32. I can store it in a variable. I'll say let res equals this, then let's log res. Okay, so let's comment out this here. Save. So if I cancel, refresh, now let me check my console. So I can see it's not a document base, not asking anything. I can see 32. So to confirm the type, because even if it was string, it will still look like that. Instead of consoling the log results, let's print the type. So I can say type of res, save, come back, refresh, check my console again. So now I can see number. Okay, so now it has converted the string 32 to an integer number. As we have parseInt, we also have parseFloat. To convert a string that can be turned into a float which is one with a decimal number or decimal point. So I can also copy this. So note, number is like their major class, while float and the rest are under it too. So I can say 32. If I try parseFloat on something that is not a number, so let's see, come back, refresh. So I can also see what number here, but let's refresh that again. Inspect console, I can see two numbers, so it still works perfectly. But if I were to try hello, then instead of seeing the type, let's see what it returns. So let's return this variable. If you save, come back, check, refresh console, I will see this NaN. So NaN means not a number. So not a number is actually registered to be under the data type number. Okay, so if I check the type of not a number, I would actually see number, even though it's not like under a mathematical number, but it's a JavaScript number as it is defined. So NaN means not a number. Okay, so yeah, that's more of a number based. So if you want to collect the age, if we're coming back to document based one, if I want to collect a user's age and I don't want it to be in a variable in case you want to perform addition or something, all right, I can simply just what is your age, all right, I can simply just wrap pass int around this, around the prompt. So I can say pass int of whatever prompt is returning, and since this is going to be a number, it would work fine. So I can say age here, or type of age, so that you see that it is a number. Okay, so refresh, cancel, refresh. So now if I type 12, okay, console, I can see, wow, I can see undefined. What's going on? Let's check our code again. Okay, I'm seeing the variable is name. So let's go back to age, save. So undefined is when we don't have that variable. So we didn't have age. 12 again. Okay, inspect. Good, now I can see number. So yeah, these two work very hand in hand when you want to convert a user's input to a number. Okay, so now let's look at some string based functions. So I can comment out the rest here. Comments. Okay, so let's start with the most common ones in most programming language, which should be uppercase and lowercase. Or let me just create a permanent variable we'll be using here. So we'll call that MSG. So I'll say the little red riding hood. Okay, so yeah, we have this variable done. So every string function we'll be using, we're practicing it on this MSG. So string is actually a class, a built-in class in JavaScript. So in general OOP, object-oriented programming, functions of a class are actually called methods. So technically this isn't a string function, it is a built-in string method. Okay, so it's more of a method according to OOP. So yeah, we call it methods. So it's still the same functionality, but with methods we're using the dot operator, not like just saying the function names and using parentheses. So you call the, or we use the string variable, then the dot operator, then whatever method we want to use. Just a little bit or different approach. Okay, so let's start with the first one, to uppercase. So I can just say case. So let's start with uppercase. So I can say log msg, then dot to uppercase, then empty bracket. So we still need it parentheses. Remember, it's still like a normal function, but it's inside a class. So that's under OOP, a whole different concept. But we use this approach. The variable dot operator, then the function, which is called a method. Okay, so then after, let me also log console.log msg dot to lowercase. So the first one is to convert every single character to uppercase. At this point we only have T to be uppercase, so it will leave T as it is. Then we have the others to be lowercase. So lowercase will just convert T back to lowercase. So let's check our console, refresh, let's click inspect. So console, I can see the first one all caps, then small caps. Okay, so That would be our case method. So the next one would be the car art method. So the car art method is basically used to find a particular character in a string. Okay, so a string is more of like a sequence of multiple characters. Some people even call it an array of characters because it holds more than one character. If a string doesn't hold more than one character, it is not a string, it's basically just a single character. Right, so it has to hold more than one, or not, doesn't have to actually, but that's what makes it a string. So we're still using MSG. So car art basically finds a character at a particular index. So index is more of like the position of each character in the string. Positioning in programming, in most programming languages, starts from 0. Okay, so I can only tell that R in R will mostly start from 1, but most programming languages start from 0. So the first index or the first position here will be 0. So I can see T, or I can say that T is a position or index 0, then H1, E3. Character is space is also a character, so it's also counted. It is not ignored. Okay, so if I come back here now, I'll say console.log. Now if I say msg.charArt, now in between these brackets I'm passing an argument. So an argument is basically the value that I'm passing to that function. So the function accepts a parameter, which is basically the argument I'm sending and stuff like that. So that functions. Okay, so I'll just say 2. So I'm passing the value to, well, let's use 0. So I want to see the character at index 0 or at position 0. So if I save, I can comment out these ones. If I save, come back, refresh, I can just leave my console open. So I can see T. As I said, most programming languages start from index 0. So which means index 0 is basically just the first character. So the first character here is capital letter T. Okay, so that is 0, the first position. The next one we'll be looking at is quite the opposite, which should be index of. So how character art finds the character at a particular position. Index of finds the position of a particular character, and if that character does not exist, it returns -1. So say console.log, if you say msg.index of. So now I'm not passing a number because that's what the method or function requires. It requires a string or a character. So now I'm passing a character. Now if I pass D, obviously I have D. So what will you do? I have 3 D's actually: red, riding, and hood. Alright? Okay, so what we'll do, it won't return the indexes of the 3 of them. It will just return the index of the first one. Okay, so this D, the index should be, we can't start counting, so we can rely on JavaScript to give us that, which will be 13. Okay, so I can see that the index of the first D is 13. I shouldn't have closed that. Alright, we have 13 there. That is index of. So the next one actually opposes index of, not in the character art index of way, is actually last index of. So just like how index of returns the first occurrence, last index of return the last occurrence. So if I had to use the same thing, let me just duplicate this, alt shift arrow down, alt arrow down here. So I'll change this to last index of, not. Okay, so I'll change this last index of D. So that will be this one, which is basically the last guy here. So if this is 13, 14, 15, so it is something around 20. Let's see. So okay, so 25. So I can see the last index of D is 25. So that's the last time D occurred in the. So that's the last time that D occurred in the string. Okay, and note you can also add more than one character in your search. So this is basically like a search bar, something like that, or not a bar, a search function. So I can say hood and this will find it. So now hood, remember each character has its own position. It will just take the first character of what you're searching and it looks for that, but obviously he makes sure that the other characters that follow are also the same thing. So it won't return the characters of H O or D, just the first one, which will be H. So which will be 22. Yeah, 22. So if I were to pass hoods, I have hood but I don't have hoods, so it won't partially just say okay because we have hood you to return the value. No, it has to be exact. So this here I would see -1 because we don't have what, we don't have hoods. Okay, so I think that should be clear. So the next one we'll be looking at will be slice. So slice basically is used to get a substring, which is a small string out of the big string. Okay, so I can console.log here, msg.slice. Alright, so it takes up two arguments, two numbers, two indexes. The first one is where to start from, and the second one is where to stop, but the value there is exclusive, which means I'm starting from index 0, right? And I want to stop at index 5, but it's not going to take index 5 with it. So that would be THE space L. I think that's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it won't take I. Even though I is the 5th index, it won't take I. So it will just be the space L. So if you check it, I can just see the space L. So it doesn't take the index between. So it's basically from the start to the index before it. So something like 0 to 4. Yeah. So it doesn't take the index where you're actually stopping at. Okay. So the next one is substring. They are basically the same thing. Basically, the difference between slice and substring is that slice or substring doesn't take negative values. It's basically the same thing there. So I can say console.log substring or msg dot substring. So I can say 2, 4. So that will be E and space. So save. I should see E and space here. E and can't see the space. Okay. So the next one would be replace. Okay. So the next one would be replace. So replace, as the name suggests, replace a particular substring with another one. You can even replace the entire string. Okay. So I can say console.log. Let's also log it. So log what msg dot replace. So replace hood or non-hood red with blue. So what does it return? It returns the string back with the values or arguments replaced. So whatever you replaced will be replaced. So the first one is what do you want to replace, and the second one is what do you want to replace this with. So now I can see the little blue riding hood. Is it not supposed to be the little red? Okay, the little red riding hood. Okay, so yeah, I can see. So yeah, I can see the replace inbuilt method in action. Another common one is repeat. So repeat, most of them are just like as the name suggests. You just have to learn how to use the number of arguments needed. It's how many times you want to repeat a particular string. Okay, so I can say msg the repeat 4 to repeat the string 4 times, but I don't want to use msg, so I can literally just say msg dot repeat. So this one takes a number as the amount of times you want to repeat it, obviously. So let me just say 3. Nothing too much. So come back, I can see repeat it, and repeat it. Okay, just gonna comment that one out. The next one is includes. So includes is very familiar or very similar to our character args and index. Character args and index look for something. If it's there, it returns the position, whether the index or the actual character, in case if you are throwing up the index, right? But it includes just returns true or false. If it is there, returns true. If it isn't, return false. And in character args or index of, it returns -1 if it isn't there. So this will return a boolean value. So they are very similar to one another. So if I also log this, I can say msg that includes, so it doesn't take an argument. So it's very important to know which method takes argument and which does not. So that's the whole essence of practicing. So returns a boolean value. So you can add that to the comment. Say returns a boolean value. Save. So I'll see false. So okay, so the next one is includes. So includes actually similar to our character args and index of, but the thing is, it doesn't just return the value or the index back, it returns a boolean value. Okay, so whether true or false. So if it is there, true. If it isn't, false. And the argument passed is whatever you are looking for. So let's just log, let's say, does it have msg dot includes blue? All right, let's see if it includes blue. Save, come back, I shall see false. All right, so false. So this basically means in the last one we replaced what, we replaced blue or replaced red with blue, and the next one I'm now searching if it includes blue. So all these methods, what I'm doing here, this just basically shows us that the methods are not mutating the string, meaning they are not changing the string. So strings in most programming languages are actually immutable. The functions that you are performing or operations you are performing on them is just like the programming languages create a demo string for you to work on it. So the actual string is actually secure, like you're not doing anything with it. Even right after this replace, if I were to log msg again, so it's only on this line that you actually replaced. So it's only on this line that you actually replaced red with blue, but you didn't actually affect the string. Okay, so if I check that one, then I also see right after the little blue riding hood, I'll still see the little red riding hood. So it means you did not, or you do not change your actual string. Okay, so you can see, move the comma there. You can see strings are immutable, which means you cannot change them. Okay, so the last one I'll be looking at will be trim. So yeah, trim is quite a useful function too. So it's quite a useful function too. It's basically just used to remove excess white spacing. Now, how does JavaScript know what an excess white spacing is? So an excess white spacing is basically the white spaces that occur more than once before an actual normal character, like every other character aside white spacing, right? While and also at the end too. So after we have a normal character and we have multiple white spaces, there's also excess. It sees it as excess. Okay, but if it's in between, it doesn't see it as excess. So for this, let's create a new string. Let's say let demo equals let's say excessive. All right, now let's create another one. Then I'll say let demo2 equals, and I'll say x I can just say excessive. All right, save. So now let's trim the both of them. So I'll see that demo 2 remain exactly the same. It doesn't see these white spaces here as excessive because these spaces are in between normal characters. They're not at the end, or they're not starting it. So it sees it as, oh, this is how the user probably wants it. But if you don't trim, obviously to leave it as it be. So let's log, of course. So log demo. So no arguments here, just trim. So trim it, and also demo 2 trim it. Now let's see. So normal demo will be trimmed down to excessive. I can see clean and nice, while demo 2 will be left as freaky as it is. Okay, so yeah, these are the most useful inbuilt functions or methods that we have in JavaScript. I hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Thanks so much, you guys. Bye.